There's a powerful misunderstanding that's shaped how we see the world for centuries. We've been taught that consciousness is a byproduct of the brain, that our thoughts are isolated, internal processes, and that the universe around us is fixed, cold, and mechanical. But science, especially the science of the quantum world, is telling a radically different story. This story says the universe is not solid, not separate, and not deterministic. At the smallest levels of existence, matter behaves in strange, unpredictable ways. Particles can exist in multiple states at once. They can influence each other across vast distances instantly. And perhaps most astonishing of all, they respond to observation. This isn't abstract theory anymore. This is the foundation of quantum physics. And while most people view it as something far removed from everyday life, the truth is, you are already using these quantum principles every single day. Without realizing it, your mind is constantly interfacing with the quantum field. Your thoughts are shaping outcomes. Your focus is guiding probabilities. Your beliefs are collapsing infinite possibilities into lived experiences. This video is not about speculating. It's about decoding. We're going to decode 6 powerful quantum laws that your mind is already using right now, whether you're aware of it or not. We'll explore how your perception of time might be much more flexible than you've been told, how multiple versions of your life might already exist in parallel, how your attention acts like a tuning device locking in reality, and how the bonds you feel with people and moments may be direct reflections of quantum entanglement. But this isn't just theory. You'll learn how to work with these laws, not just be subject to them. We'll break down how visualization, intention, and letting go aren't wishful thinking. They're practical tools grounded in quantum principles. You won't be asked to believe anything blindly. You'll simply be shown the astonishing parallels between what quantum physics reveals and what your own mind already knows how to do. This isn't about science fiction. This is about understanding the real mechanics of your reality and stepping into a whole new level of awareness about how you think, how you feel, and how you create. Let's begin with the first law. Is time just an illusion your mind knows how to bend? Most people think of time as a straight line. One fixed moment followed by another, stretching forward like links on a chain. That's how clocks work. That's how we structure our lives. And that's what we've been taught to believe since childhood. But the quantum world tells a very different story. At the smallest levels of reality, time isn't linear at all. Particles don't behave like they're moving from past to future in a neat sequence. Instead, they operate in what scientists call non-locality. This means their behavior can't always be explained by cause and effect moving through time. Now here's where it gets interesting. Human consciousness seems to mirror this quantum behavior. Think about déjà vu. A moment that feels like it's already happened, even though it couldn't have. Or the times you've had a sudden insight or gut feeling about something before it occurred, only to have it proven true. These aren't flukes. These are cracks in the illusion of linear time. And your mind is noticing them. Let's go deeper. Your brain is wired to organize experience using time. But your awareness, that deeper level of self that notices, reflects, and senses, doesn't always obey the same rules. People often report knowing things before they happen. This isn't fantasy. In quantum terms, all possible futures already exist in a state of probability. They're not fully real yet, but they can be accessed. So how does your mind interact with these potential futures? Through focus, through intuition, and through energetic alignment. When your emotions and thoughts are resonating with a particular future scenario, you're essentially syncing with that timeline. You start picking up on signals, glimpses, before the actual event unfolds. This is not time travel. It's time sensitivity, and your mind is already equipped to do it. Let's connect this with what quantum physics shows us. The delayed choice experiment, for example, suggests that the present behavior of a particle can be influenced by how we choose to observe it after the fact. In other words, choices made in the now appear to ripple backward into the past. This directly challenges everything we assume about time. And if particles behave this way, why not consciousness? You are constantly forming expectations about the future. These expectations aren't just passive, they carry emotional charge. That emotional energy becomes like a signal sent out into the field. The stronger and more coherent the emotional signal, the more you align with a particular outcome. And then something strange happens. Your behavior begins to shift. You start noticing different details. You take actions without thinking that lead to synchronicities. And eventually, you land in a version of reality that reflects the emotional signal you broadcasted, long before it happened. It can feel like fate, like precognition, or like a stroke of luck. But it's none of those. It's your mind bending time, not by manipulating the clock, but by stepping outside of it. You've done this before. Everyone has. The challenge is doing it consciously. Here's how. First, pay attention to emotional clues. When you feel a strong resonance with a possible future, excitement, fear, certainty, that's a sign you're already tuning into a potential timeline. Next, use mental rehearsal. Visualize that future as if it's already unfolding. Not as a fantasy, but as a memory. Speak from it. Feel from it. Let your nervous system respond as if it's real. This begins to collapse that possibility into higher probability. Then, let go of the exact path. Don't try to control how it happens. In the quantum model, the pathway is chaotic and unpredictable. It's not your job to predict the steps, just to lock in the state. The illusion of time wants you to believe the future hasn't happened yet. But quantum thinking reveals that the future is a range of probabilities waiting for your attention. You're not a passive traveler on a linear timeline. You're the navigator of a multidimensional map. And your choices, especially the subtle ones, send shockwaves through that map, altering your course in real time. So ask yourself, when you think about your future, are you just waiting for it to arrive? Or are you already shaping it with your thoughts, your energy, and your awareness? Because once you understand that time bends in response to consciousness, you'll stop fearing the unknown. You'll start recognizing that it's listening to you. Let's now turn to the next quantum law and uncover the startling truth about reality itself. Are you in more than one version of your life right now? Are you in more than one reality right now? Everything you've been told about reality assumes there's only one version of it happening at a time. You're taught that every choice you make leads to one path, one life, one outcome. But quantum theory challenges that deeply. In the world of quantum mechanics, particles can exist in multiple states at once. This is called superposition. A particle doesn't decide whether it's here or there until it's observed. Before that observation, it exists in all potential states simultaneously. Now apply that same logic to you. Right now, there isn't just one version of you making decisions in a single, fixed timeline. There are countless versions. Each one represents a different path, a different choice, a different outcome. Some are radically different. Some are just a shade off. But all of them exist, not in your imagination, but in the quantum field as real probabilities. Let's take this further. Every time you make a decision, you're not destroying the other possibilities, you're simply tuning into one. The other versions don't vanish. They continue to play out, just not in the version of reality you're currently experiencing. This is what many researchers and theorists describe as parallel realities. So when you're stuck in regret, when you wonder, what would have happened if I'd taken that job? Or what if I had stayed in that relationship? You're not just reminiscing. You're sensing the presence of another version of you living that path right now in a parallel probability. Your consciousness is not locked into one static version of you. It's more like a spotlight that moves through a sea of parallel outcomes. And the direction of that spotlight is guided by your focus, your emotions, your beliefs, and your frequency. Let's pause here. Think about how empowering that is. You're not stuck in one reality. You're shifting through them constantly. Some shifts are subtle, so small you don't notice them. Others are massive. A sudden breakthrough, an unexpected change, or a dramatic turn of events that feels like it came out of nowhere. But nothing ever comes from nowhere. These shifts are caused by energetic alignment. Here's how it works. Every possible version of your life vibrates at a unique frequency. Your thoughts, emotions, and internal state emit a signature frequency too. When your frequency matches a particular timeline, you begin to resonate with that reality. And just like a tuning fork that vibrates in sympathy with another, you start to experience that version of life. In simple terms, you don't chase realities. You tune into them. Let's be clear, this isn't magic. It's mechanics. The universe doesn't hand you a better life because you hope for it. It responds when you become the version of you who already lives in that reality. That means if you want to access a timeline where you're more confident, more successful, or more peaceful, you don't wait for the world to change. You align with that version of yourself now. You think like them. You speak like them. You feel what they feel. And something subtle begins to happen. The people around you respond differently. Opportunities shift. Outcomes realign. Why? Because you've changed your frequency and therefore your reality. Let's talk about decision-making. In the traditional view, decisions are forks in the road. You go left or right and everything else is lost. But in the quantum view, every path continues to exist. And what you call intuition may be a signal from a parallel version of you, a timeline where that decision has already played out. This is why your gut can be so accurate. It's not predicting the future. It's tuning into an outcome that's already occurring in another version of you. So the next time you feel torn between options, remember this: all outcomes already exist. The question is, which version are you ready to tune into? You shift realities by shifting identity. If you constantly identify as someone who struggles, doubts, or fails, you're reinforcing that frequency. You're tuning into that version of life. But if you begin to identify as someone who trusts their inner wisdom, who takes aligned action, who walks with clarity and purpose, you will start to collapse timelines that reflect those traits. Let's also clear up a common misconception. This is not about ignoring your current circumstances. It's about using awareness to stop reinforcing them with unconscious energy. Reality reflects your inner state. So when you begin to operate from the state of your desired outcome, without needing the external proof first, the shift begins. Here's a practical way to apply this. Start asking yourself throughout the day, which version of me is showing up right now? Is it the one aligned with the life you truly want? Or is it a version stuck in old loops, doubts, and fears? When you ask that consistently, you bring consciousness to your identity. And that awareness alone can begin the process of quantum shifting. Also, practice state rehearsal. Close your eyes. Connect with the version of you who already has the results you want. Don't just see them, feel them. Ask, how does this version of me think? What do they focus on? How do they carry themselves? And then act accordingly, even in small ways. Reality won't instantly rewrite itself, but you'll start noticing feedback. Little changes, new people, different ideas, unexpected opportunities. These are signs that your frequency has shifted and you're moving into resonance with a new probability field. The truth is, you are never just one person. You are a field of potentials, constantly collapsing into temporary form. And your ability to focus, feel, and act from alignment determines which version of you becomes dominant in your lived experience. So the question isn't whether you exist in more than one reality. The question is, are you aware enough to choose? Next, we explore a powerful force you use every day, usually without realizing just how potent it really is. Let's talk about how your attention shapes the very structure of reality. Is your attention the remote control of reality? Right now, your attention is doing something extraordinary. It's not just noticing this moment. It's shaping it, guiding it, selecting it out of a sea of possibilities. In the quantum world, there is a phenomenon known as the observer effect. It tells us that the mere act of observing a particle changes how that particle behaves. Before observation, the particle exists in a state of probability, a waveform. But when observed, that waveform collapses into a specific outcome. The presence of awareness is the trigger. And once that awareness engages, potential becomes physical. Possibility becomes actual. That same principle is at work in your mind. And not just in theory, it's how your reality is forming moment by moment. You're not a passive observer. You are the observer with influence. Your attention is the most powerful selector of reality you have. It works like a tuning device. Where you place your focus, you place your energy. And where you place your energy, you initiate collapse. You pull potential into experience. You decide which version of life becomes real for you, not in some abstract future, but right now. Let's unpack how this works in your daily life. When you focus on problems, your attention activates them. It tunes into the timeline where those problems dominate your experience. That doesn't mean you cause them to exist, but you energize them. You bring them into sharper clarity. You participate in the version of reality where they're reinforced. On the other hand, when you direct your attention to possibilities, solutions, and growth, even before you see proof, you begin to sync with that version of life. You tell the quantum field, "This is what I'm choosing to observe." And in response, the field rearranges around your selection. This is not about denial. It's about conscious selection. Most people leave their attention unguarded. They give it away constantly to distraction, fear, drama, and noise. They don't realize that every unconscious focus is a silent command to reality. You're always broadcasting. When you scroll through negativity, engage in fear-based thinking, or replay doubts, you're sending a clear message, "More of this, please." And the field responds not because it judges, but because it obeys frequency. Here's a deeper truth. Attention is not neutral. It's a signal amplifier. What you repeatedly focus on becomes part of your internal map of reality. That map then becomes the filter through which you interpret the world. And eventually, it becomes the world you interact with. Let's look at this through the lens of science. In cognitive psychology, there's a concept called the reticular activating system, or RAS. It acts like a gatekeeper for your brain, deciding which information gets through to your conscious awareness. What activates the RAS? Repeated attention. When you consistently focus on something, your RAS starts filtering the world to match that focus. So if you keep thinking about lack, you'll start noticing lack everywhere. If you focus on opportunities, your RAS will highlight people, ideas, and resources aligned with growth. Now combine that with the quantum understanding that attention collapses probability, and you begin to see the immense power you already hold. You are not just reacting to reality. You're filtering it, energizing it, selecting it. But here's the challenge. Your attention doesn't stay still. It's constantly being pulled by media, by emotion, by habit. If you're not in control of your focus, then someone else is. And when you surrender your attention to randomness, you surrender your power to create. So how do you take control of this remote? Start with awareness of attention. Throughout the day, stop and ask, what am I focusing on right now? And is this what I want to grow? This question alone can reset your frequency. It reminds you that you're not trapped in your current thoughts. You're choosing them. Next, become intentional with mental rehearsal. Pick one outcome you want to experience. Then, bring it into focus. Not as a wish, but as a broadcast. See it. Feel it. Think from it. Do this consistently, not obsessively. The goal is not to control every detail, but to lock in the direction of your attention. Let's go further. Eliminate energy leaks. These are unconscious focus patterns that scatter your attention. Worry loops, comparison, judgment, these all dilute your broadcast. They pull your frequency in conflicting directions. When your signal is scattered, the field can't return a clear reflection. Focus must be coherent. That means your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs are pointing in the same direction. When that happens, your attention becomes a laser, cuts through confusion. It reorganizes your internal world, and your external world follows. Now let's be honest. You will get distracted. You will drift. That's normal. The power isn't in being perfect. It's in returning. Every time you bring your focus back to your chosen outcome, you strengthen that pathway in the brain. You deepen the neural groove. You make it easier next time. And with enough repetition, that focus becomes automatic. You start to live from the reality you want, not just think about it occasionally. Let's recap the truth. Your attention is not passive. It's directive. What you observe, you energize. What you energize, you experience. What you experience becomes your identity. And your identity reinforces your attention. It's a loop. But once you're aware of it, you can interrupt it at any point and redirect the flow. So the next time you catch yourself focusing on what you don't want, pause, redirect, select a new observation, and know that in that simple act you've shifted the field. You've changed the coordinates of your reality. You don't need to master every detail of quantum physics to understand this truth. You only need to master your attention. In the next part, we'll go beyond attention and explore something even more mysterious: the invisible bonds between people, events, and thoughts. Could your mind be linking with others in ways that defy time and space? Can your thoughts entangle with the universe? There is a phenomenon in quantum physics that continues to baffle even the most seasoned scientists. It defies logic, ignores distance, and seems to violate the very rules we've built our understanding of space around. This is quantum entanglement, a condition in which two particles become linked so deeply that their states are connected, no matter how far apart they are. Change one and the other reacts instantly, not with a delay, not through a signal, instantly. Now pause and think about that. Two entities, separated by miles or even light years, are somehow communicating without exchanging any detectable signal. It's not just spooky. It's foundational to understanding how interconnected everything truly is. But here's the twist. This isn't limited to subatomic particles. Human consciousness exhibits the same kind of behavior, and there's growing evidence to suggest that your thoughts, emotions, and intentions can form entangled links, not just with people, but with events, places, and even timelines. Let's begin with what this looks like in real life. You think of someone, and seconds later they text you. You feel a sudden wave of emotion that doesn't seem like yours, and later learn that someone close to you was going through something intense at that exact moment. You walk into a room and instantly sense tension, joy, or sadness, even before anyone speaks. These aren't random coincidences. They are entangled signals. When you form a strong emotional bond with someone, whether through love, trauma, shared experience, or deep focus, you create a kind of energetic bridge. That bridge allows information to travel between you and them, even without words or proximity. This isn't metaphor. It's mechanics. Your brain and heart emit measurable electromagnetic fields. These fields aren't isolated, they interact with the environment. They send out and receive subtle cues. And when two fields become synchronized through shared experience or intense emotion, they remain sensitive to each other's changes, even across distances. This is the quantum mind in action. Let's go even deeper. Entanglement isn't limited to people. Your thoughts can become entangled with outcomes. When you focus intensely on a desired result, you begin to form a link with that possibility in the field. The more emotion, clarity, and consistency you apply, the stronger that entanglement becomes. You're not just visualizing, you're connecting. Over time, that connection can begin to pull that reality toward you, or pull you toward it. Synchronicities appear. Chance meetings happen. Ideas drop into your awareness. These are not random events. They are the field organizing itself around your entangled intention. Now let's clarify something important. This isn't about control. You can't manipulate other people's minds or force outcomes to appear on command. What you can do is form clear, energetic connections to the realities and people that resonate with your highest alignment. And that connection begins with presence. The more present and emotionally engaged you are with your intention, the stronger the bond. The more scattered or doubtful you are, the weaker the link. Think of your thoughts like threads. Every time you think with clarity and emotion, you tie a thread to the version of reality you want. One thread won't do much, but dozens, hundreds, they begin to form a bridge. That bridge is what creates what people call flow, synchronicity, and alignment. You don't have to chase the outcome. It begins to find you. Not because you've forced it, but because you've become entangled with it. Let's bring this back to relationships. Have you ever felt connected to someone before you even met them? Or felt a shift in your energy after someone entered your thoughts unexpectedly? Entanglement might be the explanation. At a quantum level, intention creates linkage. When you think deeply about someone, even silently, you send out an energetic imprint. If that person is receptive, they may feel it without knowing why. This is why it's so important to be conscious of what you're broadcasting. You're not just thinking in isolation. You're interacting with a vast, intelligent field that records, receives, and responds to the energy you emit. Here's how to work with this consciously. Start with clarity of connection. Before you focus on a person, outcome, or event, ask, is this something I truly want to link with? Your energy is valuable. Don't entangle with things you don't want to bring closer. Next, use intentional coherence. Bring your thoughts, feelings, and physical state into alignment. Breathe, slow down, visualize with feeling. Speak your intentions clearly, even if it's only to yourself. This creates a resonant frequency that strengthens the entanglement. Then, release resistance. Entanglement doesn't require obsession. In fact, too much mental interference can disrupt the signal. Once the connection is formed, allow the field to do its work. Trust the invisible architecture you've helped initiate. And finally, be attentive to feedback. You'll begin to notice echoes, messages, nudges, intuitive pings, or sudden clarity. These are not random. They are the field speaking back. Remember, you are not separate from the universe. You are a node in a network receiving and transmitting energy constantly. When you learn to engage that network with intention, you move from reaction to creation. Let's bring this full circle. Entanglement reveals a powerful truth. Your consciousness is not contained within your skull. It stretches outward, forms connections, and participates in a living matrix of energy and possibility. Every time you focus with love, clarity, or devotion, you're not just thinking, you're bonding. You're linking. You're weaving invisible threads between yourself and the quantum field. So ask yourself, what are you entangled with right now? Are those connections pulling you forward or holding you back? Because the mind is not just a mirror of reality. It's a bridge. And once you recognize how it links with the universe itself, you'll stop seeing yourself as separate. You'll understand you are part of the code. Next, we turn to one of the most overlooked forces in quantum creation, the power of surrender. Is it possible that letting go is the missing step in making reality bend in your favor? Why let go? Because the universe is already listening. There's a step in the creative process that's often misunderstood, ignored, or avoided altogether. It doesn't involve more effort. It doesn't require more focus. And it certainly doesn't mean giving up. It's the step where you release your grip, where you stop trying to control the how, the when, and the details, where you let go not out of weakness but out of strength. Let's talk about surrender. In the classical model of reality, results are achieved through direct action. Push hard enough, think long enough, control every variable, and maybe you'll succeed. But in the quantum model, reality doesn't bend to force. It responds to alignment. This is why some of the biggest breakthroughs in people's lives come not when they double down on effort, but when they step back, release attachment, and allow. That's not passive. It's intelligent. Because the quantum field is always responding, not just to what you want, but to how you're holding it. Desperation, fear, and mental noise create interference. They scramble your frequency. They cloud the signal. And in that fog, your desired outcome has no clear channel to come through. Letting go clears that fog. It sharpens the signal. It tells the field, I've done my part. I've aligned. I focused. And now I trust. Let's be clear. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You stop chasing the outcome like it's missing. You stop treating it like something out there that might arrive if you just push hard enough. Instead, you shift into a state where that outcome already feels possible, available, even natural. You see, holding on too tightly sends a very specific signal, lack. It implies that what you want isn't here, and that belief becomes a command to the field. But when you release that tension, when you breathe, when you stop monitoring the outcome every 5 minutes, you step into a higher frequency, one of completion, not craving. And in quantum terms, that's the frequency that changes everything. Let's take this further. When a wave function collapses in the quantum world, it does so because of observation. But that observation doesn't require force. It only requires clarity. Likewise, when you focus on a desired reality, you begin to collapse the possibilities around it. But if you continue to obsess, monitor, and resist what is, you keep reinflating that wave. You keep it unstable. Letting go is what completes the collapse. It stabilizes your chosen reality. And here's the paradox. You can only truly let go when you trust that something intelligent is responding to you. Not a person, not a system, not luck, but a field, a source, an architecture of possibility that's alive, aware, and adaptive. That's the quantum universe. It doesn't respond to force. It responds to coherence. And surrender is a sign of coherence, because it means your inner state is no longer chasing reality. It's resting in it. Let's break this into real, actionable clarity. If you've set an intention, if you've aligned your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions with a particular outcome, then your job is not to keep tweaking the frequency every hour. Your job is to trust the field to organize the path. This doesn't mean you stop showing up. It means you stop fighting unseen forces. You follow nudges. You stay in flow. You make moves from inner knowing, not from panic or pressure. There's another reason surrender works. It makes room for the unexpected. When you control too tightly, you limit the possibilities to what your mind can conceive. But the field is infinite. It doesn't just deliver what you think you want. It responds to your energy, and sometimes that response comes in ways your mind never predicted. Letting go opens the door to those surprises. It removes the mental filter that says, this is the only way it can work. And in doing so, it allows something even better, faster, or more aligned to emerge. But you'll miss it if you're clinging to a single version. Now let's address the inner skeptic that says, if I let go, I might lose it. No, letting go is not the same as dropping it. You're not letting go of the intention, you're letting go of the tension. You're keeping your aim steady, but loosening your grip on how it must arrive. This is one of the most powerful positions you can hold. Focused but relaxed. Clear but open. Aligned but unattached. Here's a practice that helps. When you find yourself obsessing over an outcome, whether it's a goal, a relationship, or a result, pause. Feel the contraction in your body. Notice the tightening. That's resistance. Then say to yourself, I release this into the field. I trust the process. I trust the intelligence that responds. And mean it, not as a script, not as a ritual, but as a signal of surrender. Let go with the confidence of someone who knows the system works. Because when you're clear, consistent, and coherent, it does. You don't need to know every detail of how your reality will shift. You only need to stay in tune with the version of you who has already received it. That version isn't waiting. That version isn't anxious. That version isn't checking the clock. That version knows. So the next time you catch yourself thinking, why hasn't it happened yet? That's your cue. Not to push harder, but to let go, to step back, to breathe, to allow, because you've already made the request. You've already aligned. The field has already received the signal, and in ways you cannot yet see, it's already responding. In the final part, we bring it all together, thought, emotion, attention, alignment, and unlock the most powerful tool you've had from the beginning, your imagination. How to hack reality with quantum imagination. You've heard the phrase, it's all in your head, used to dismiss ideas, dreams, and visions. But what if the opposite were true? What if everything begins in your head, not as a fantasy, but as a mechanism for shaping the quantum field? This isn't poetic thinking. This is practical quantum mechanics fused with conscious awareness. And at the center of that fusion is one tool more powerful than effort, planning, or logic. Imagination. Not the kind reserved for fiction, but the kind that rewires your mind and reprograms your future. At the quantum level, the field doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you feel as real. That means the inner world you cultivate becomes the template for the outer world you experience. And the most direct way to influence that inner world is through your imagination. Let's get something clear right now. Imagination is not a childish escape from reality. It's the interface between consciousness and creation. It's how you preview timelines, how you tune into different versions of your life, and how you instruct the field on which outcomes to prepare. Every time you use your imagination with clarity and emotion, you are forming a blueprint in consciousness. That blueprint doesn't sit idle. It begins broadcasting immediately. The quantum field, neutral, intelligent, and reactive, reads that broadcast and begins organizing around it. The mistake most people make is this: they use their imagination unconsciously. They rehearse fears, replay worst-case scenarios, visualize failure. They don't call it imagination, but that's exactly what it is. And because the field doesn't filter good from bad, it simply responds to frequency. This is why being intentional matters. You're always using imagination. The question is, are you using it on purpose? Let's break this down into 3 modes of conscious imagination that can literally hack your reality. 1. Visualization as an activation tool. Visualization isn't daydreaming. It's the process of mentally rehearsing a reality until your nervous system believes it's already real. When done correctly, it triggers the same brain patterns, emotional responses, and chemical shifts as if the experience were happening in the physical world. Here's how to do it right. Choose one specific reality you want to step into. Close your eyes. See it not as a movie but as a memory. Engage your senses. What do you hear? Smell? Feel? Most importantly, feel the emotional signature of already being there. That feeling is what the field responds to, not the picture, the frequency. Visualize for quality, not quantity. 10 minutes of deep, emotional clarity is more effective than an hour of vague, distracted imagining. 2. Quantum scripting. This is a written form of imagination. Instead of thinking your desired reality, you write from it as if it's already done. Describe your life in the present tense. I wake up each day feeling aligned. The right opportunities come effortlessly. I speak with clarity. I move through the day as the version of me who is already thriving. This practice does 2 things. It reprograms your subconscious mind to accept this version of reality as familiar. It reinforces coherence between thought, word, and identity. Do this consistently and you'll notice your behaviors start aligning with your words. That's the quantum shift in action. 3. Emotional rehearsal. If visualization is seeing and scripting is thinking, emotional rehearsal is being. It's the act of cultivating and sustaining the feeling state of the reality you're choosing. This isn't about pretending. It's about anchoring. You ask yourself, how would I feel if this were already true? Then you generate that emotion intentionally. Peace, gratitude, confidence, joy. You hold it. You practice it. You become familiar with it. And over time, that emotional frequency becomes your dominant state. It rewires your baseline. And the quantum field begins to reflect it in the form of experiences, people, and outcomes. Let's step back. What you're doing with these practices isn't magic. It's mechanics. You are broadcasting a coherent signal using imagination as the carrier wave. That signal enters the field, interacts with other probabilities, and influences the path that unfolds in front of you. You've done this your whole life, just without awareness. Every invention, relationship, or turning point in your life began in the mind first. You imagined it, you felt it, you rehearsed it, and then you walked into the version of life where it existed. Now you know the process. Now you can use it with intention. But there's one more thing. You must let the imagined become more real than the remembered. The past has momentum. It wants to define you. It wants to lock your frequency into familiar patterns. Imagination breaks that cycle. It offers a new reference point. So don't wait for proof to feel successful. Don't wait for someone else to give you permission to feel empowered. Don't wait for the money to feel abundant or the love to feel worthy. Feel it now. Imagine it now. Broadcast it now. The field will follow. Reality is not built solely on facts. It is built on focus. And imagination, when used properly, is the most powerful focus tool you own. Let's recap everything. You are not bound by time. Your intuition can sense the future like a signal. You are not a single self. Your identity shifts with the reality you choose. Your attention is the selector. It turns possibility into presence. Your thoughts form connections. You are linked to the universe and others. Surrender is the final step. It stabilizes your signal and clears the path. And imagination is the gateway. It translates the invisible into the visible. You've been using these quantum laws your whole life. Now you know how. Now it's time to use them consciously, not to chase reality, but to shape it, not to react to life, but to code it from within, because the secret is no longer hidden. Your mind is already quantum. There's a powerful misunderstanding that's shaped how we see the world for centuries. We've been taught that consciousness is a byproduct of the brain, that our thoughts are isolated internal processes, and that the universe around us is fixed, cold, and mechanical. But science, especially the science of the quantum world, is telling a radically different story. This story says the universe is not solid, not separate, and not deterministic. At the smallest levels of existence, matter behaves in strange, unpredictable ways. Particles can exist in multiple states at once. They can influence each other across vast distances instantly. And perhaps most astonishing of all, they respond to observation. This isn't abstract theory anymore. This is the foundation of quantum physics. And while most people view it as something far removed from everyday life, the truth is, you are already using these quantum principles every single day. Without realizing it, your mind is constantly interfacing with the quantum field. Your thoughts are shaping outcomes. Your focus is guiding probabilities. Your beliefs are collapsing infinite possibilities into lived experiences. This video is not about speculating. It's about decoding. We're going to decode 6 powerful quantum laws that your mind is already using right now, whether you're aware of it or not. We'll explore how your perception of time might be much more flexible than you've been told, how multiple versions of your life might already exist in parallel, how your attention acts like a tuning device locking in reality, and how the bonds you feel with people and moments may be direct reflections of quantum entanglement. But this isn't just theory. You'll learn how to work with these laws, not just be subject to them. We'll break down how visualization, intention, and letting go aren't wishful thinking. They're practical tools grounded in quantum principles.